we're just gonna don't tell the listeners. We're gonna wing this. there's this. Not only is there no script, this is zero script. This is like I don't even know what I'm gonna do yet. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
That being said, let's go. All right. Welcome to the Flathead Home Show. My name's Justin Meccia. Happy weekend to you. Happy New Year to you. This is your most local radio real estate show, and I'm proud that we're about to celebrate entering year 7 with the Flathead Home Show. So we've done this for a while, Matt. We've got a big archive of past shows. You can go to kjjr.com and just have at it, right? I want to say it's bigger than Netflix. Maybe it's not that big. However, it's a lot more important, okay? It's a lot more important because the information that we discuss on this show has the ability to change your life. So, hey, stay tuned, friends. I also have an exciting event coming up later in this month. I'm going to announce it perhaps next weekend because we're still building the details and I don't want to misspeak or speak out of turn. So, I've got an exciting event for us to get connected in the community and for you to learn a few things about real estate and about the power of real estate. So stay tuned. Plug in next week's show for you. Okay, so if you tuned in last weekend, we discussed real estate at large. We discussed 2024. We discussed perhaps some predictions of 2025. We discussed the market. We discussed how these things come together. I actually want to share with you what I think is even more important than that. Because let me ask you a question, and let me ask a question that I know that many of you are asking on a regular basis, and that is now the right time to buy? Is now the right time to buy? Well, the answer to that question is, does it need to be the right time to buy? Is it the right time to buy for you? Meaning, if you have to buy a house, yes. The answer is actually always yes. Okay, if you have to buy a house or have to buy a home, the answer is yes all the time. There are times where it is more financially advantageous or times that it's perhaps a little bit difficult. And that's why we're here to discuss these things. However, if you need a home, now is always the best time to buy because here's what happens in real estate. It always goes up. It always goes up. It always has the ability to pay you back. Here's what happens with your decision to rent. It doesn't. It doesn't have the ability to pay you back. What that does do is allow you to spend a lot of money to keep a roof over your head, which is definitely a good thing. However, it doesn't have the ability to pay you back. So I want to talk about that difference. And we did talk about a little bit of that last week. However, what I wanted to drill down for you this week is the pre-qualification. That's right. We're going back to before the pre-qual. So this is kind of like the decision to run the Spartan race, and then going to the gym would be preparing yourself for the Spartan race, except for prior to deciding to go to the gym is what we're talking about right now. So this show is dedicated to my friend Courtney, who lives across the state, who has recently asked, what are the first couple of steps? And what I heard in some of that dialogue was something that is, and don't take offense to this, Courtney, a little fear-based. And I also want to share with you that that's not uncommon. It's very, very, very common for people to say, well, I don't know. I just don't know if I qualify. I don't know if every time I drive by the Toyota dealership and I look at all those beautiful trucks, I get that same fear. I'm like, I don't think I qualify for one of those things. So I continue to buy a Chevy, right? Because they're more affordable. And I'm not going to get into the battle of who's better, who's worse, blah, blah, blah. That's not this show. That's not this topic. However, we all know those Toyota Tundras are expensive. And I'm afraid to even ask, right? So that's what I'm talking about. There's the consumer who looks at the house and they say, well, gosh, look at these home prices. They're so expensive. I don't think I qualify. And then they just stop. It's like, I'm not even going to look at the Spartan race. It's not worth running. I'm going to go back to, living here. Stop doing that because you deserve better than that. So let's talk about the pre-qualification, the pre-qualification. The pre-qualification is when you call the lender and you say, hey, I want to know how much I can buy. I want to know how to buy this thing, right? The pre-qualification is when you talk to yourself. So let's talk to yourself. Okay, I want you to get out of your head for a second. A couple of things that I can give you, and I'm going to break this down further in the second segment. However, so if you're driving, record the show or come back to it at kjjr.com because I'm going to give you some tactics. I'm going to give you some things that I want you to actually write down. If you're listening to this at home, you're already ahead of the game. Okay, so grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, and I want you to write these things down. Pre-qualify yourself for buying a home. One of the things you're going to have to assess, and you can assess this right now, is your debt to income. In the industry, we call that the DTI. And yes, your assessment of your DTI might look a little different than your lender's assessment of the DTI, and that's okay. It should. However, for purposes of our qualification, of our conversation today, I want to pre-qualify you, meaning I want you to get out of your head that's saying that you can't do this and start to put yourself into a position so that you can. Okay, so debt to income. What I want you to do is take that piece of paper, and I want you to draw a line right down the middle of it. And on the left-hand side, I want you to write debts. And debts are anything that is coming out of your account every month. Okay, anything coming out of your account every month. And before I take the break, I'll break that down for you a little bit further. Okay, so let's say one of them is a credit card. And let's say you have a $3,000 balance on the credit card, yet it is $80 a month. So you're going to write both those things down. However, for the purposes of your assessment right now, the 80 is most important. The 3,000 doesn't matter as much, although yes, and eventually that does matter. And I don't want you to just get in the habit of only paying the minimums, because then you're going to be paying on that thing forever. What I want you to do is just write down the 80 though, because we're going to create your DTI, your debt to income ratio. And there are more steps right after this break. This is the Flathead Home Show. My name is Justin Meccia. We're going to continue to pre-qualify you for your next home that you deserve. We'll be right back. Not bad for shooting from the hip. Yeah. What do I talk about next? What's the next step, Matt? All right, you ready? Yeah. And here we go. And we're back. It's the Flathead Home Show. My name's Justin Meccia. Happy New Year to you. Friends, we're going to change lives this year. We're going to change lives this year, one house, one key, one door at a time, perhaps even one radio show at a time. Call me anytime, 406-871-9404, justinmeccia.com. I want you to change your life this year, and I want you to do it through real estate. And let's be fair. I am a believer in that if the answer that you get, can I buy a home? If the answer is no, what really is going on there is you forgot a letter and a word. It's not yet, N-O-T, yet, right? It's not yet. The answer is actually never no. Now, what can change is if the answer is no and you do nothing about that, then the answer will probably stay no. If the answer is no and you begin to do something about it, then the answer actually turns into not yet, and it's an eventual yes. So in the last segment, we talked about pre-qualifying. For those of you who are listening, for those of you who don't believe you can qualify for a home, these are the things that you can do right now to begin to change your mindset around that, which would then prepare you for the pre-qualification, which is the conversation for the lender. Last segment, we ended the segment talking about your debt to income, your DTI. A very simple calculation on your DTI. I challenge you to grab a piece of paper, split it down the middle, and on the left-hand column, debts, and start to indicate your debts. If you have to, log into your checking account and take a look at every time there's a negative, well, not a negative, hopefully you're not negative, because that's going to be also a step. Like, let's make sure we don't have NSF fees. Let's get that back up, right? And whatever we need to do to change that, maybe it's reduce costs or increase income. You know how to do that. You can do that. Okay. Every time your account is zapped for something. Now, the things that don't matter are your Netflix subscription or your internet subscription or your phone bill, which even though that thing can be kind of expensive, that doesn't matter. Okay. Those things don't matter nearly as much. Sometimes we do reach that far. However, those things don't matter. The things that do matter are the things that you believe would show up on your credit report: a credit card, car payments, alimony or child support, what else? Student loans. Okay. So think of those things. I want you to, if you have to pause the show, pause the show. If you're listening to it on the radio, then you're gonna have to go to kjjr.com and then you can pause it. You're in control at kjjr.com. Do you see the power in that website, Matt? Yeah, he believes it. Okay. Continue with your debts. All right. Now on the other side, you're going to write income. And for some of us, maybe there's only one source of income. I have a JOB and it is this. Okay, write it down. Write it down. How much do you make? What is your monthly income? And yes, you are allowed to apply the gross figure here. Okay, we need to look at the gross figure. So if it's $20 an hour, do the math. Add it up. How many hours a week? How many hours a month? Bam, there's your gross figure. How long, now there's another question for you. How long have you been there? Is this a brand new job and you were unemployed for 3 years prior? Okay, we got a little work to do, right? Have you been on the job for 5, 6, 7 years, 2, 3, 4 years? That's okay. All right, great. Let's look at it. Let's begin to assess these things. The other thing I want to ask you while we're on this side of the page is, are your taxes current? Because most of the time, hear me carefully, most of the time, your lender, now remember, this is the pre-qual phase. Right now, we're just pre-qual. You haven't called anybody. You're just having a conversation with yourself in your head listening to this radio show. Your lender is eventually going to want to know about your taxes because that's, let's just call it what it is, the truest statement of your income. Right now, for those of us who are self-employed, that may not be the truest statement of my income because we play the game. I get that. And there are those lenders out there who have bank statement loan opportunities. Okay. So if you haven't done your taxes in a while, guess what? That's okay. There's products out there for you to look at to get into a home. It's called a bank statement loan. Okay. So that's why on this side of the page, we're discussing all of your income. Do you receive income in other ways? Do you receive child support or alimony payments, right? There are other sources of income. Do you do a little side hustle thing? And have you done that for a little while? And do those things show up on your taxes? No, Justin, they don't, because I don't want anybody to know about those things. Okay, well, maybe if you're not qualified right now, maybe we need to change that and put that stuff into the visible bucket so that we can start to count it towards purchasing a home. Because guess what, friends? I promise you, the value of you being a homeowner is greater than the value of you saving a few bucks on your taxes. Okay, the value of you being a homeowner is greater than the value otherwise. And just give you a little hack here, the mortgage interest that you pay on your primary residence is a tax deduction against your taxes. So you can probably get all that value back that you were hiding before, okay? So just go there. Just prepare yourself to take the launch. Now, I've just taken a whole weekend to discuss one thing about pre-qualifying yourself, and that is your debt to income. That's actually one of the largest steps, though. Start to assess yourself, okay? Now, what I need you to do, because I'm running out of time here, what I need you to do is take a look at the total figure there. So add up all your debts, and it's just the monthly payments. So I have a credit card at $3,000 balance. It's $80 a month. I have child support payments of $100 a month. I have a car payment of $300 a month, right? And add those things up, blah, 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 minus whatever it is a month. Add it up against put it up against your income. Don't count your rent. That doesn't matter because we're replacing that with a mortgage, right? Eventually. So add up those debts, run it up against your income. Create a formula if you know how to. You should know how to. Create a formula. And if you find that your debts compared to your income are 20% or lower, you're actually in a really good spot to call me, 406-871-9404. If you find that your debts are 45% of your income, you're still close and we can talk, okay? Friends, there's hope there for you. We're going to change lives this year, Matt. We're going to make it happen. It's going to happen at the Flathead Home Show. Friends, be safe, be well, Happy New Year. And of course, as always, hey, Flathead, welcome home.